Every year, millions of older adults experience fall. While some recover with only minor injuries, many sustain fractures, lose their independence, or never regain their previous level of function. In fact, falls are now recognized as the leading cause of injury among older adults worldwide and remain one of the most preventable causes of disability, hospitalization, and premature death. Imagine caring for a 75-year-old patient admitted after a seemingly simple fall at home. At first glance, it may appear to be an isolated accident. However, that fall may actually reflect muscle weakness, impaired balance, poor vision, inappropriate medications, or hazards within the home. Unless these underlying factors are recognized and addressed, that patient is likely to fall again. The encouraging news is that most falls are preventable. Through systematic assessment and evidence based interventions, healthcare professionals can substantially reduce fall risk and help older adults maintain their mobility, independence, and quality of life. In this presentation, we'll explore why older adults fall, how fall risk is assessed, and the most effective strategies for preventing falls in both hospital and community settings. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to describe the burdens of falls among older adults, recognize the major risk factors that contribute to falls, understand and commonly used tools for fall risk assessment, and identify evidence-based intervention that reduce fall risk. We'll also review current international recommendations and discuss how these principles can be applied in everyday clinical practice. Before discussing prevention, however, it's important to understand why falls have become one of the greatest public health challenges affecting our aging populations. Falls are much more than accidental events. They represent one of the leading causes of injury, disability, hospitalization, and injury-related mortality among older adults. The consequences extend far beyond the initial injury. A single fall can begin a downward spiral of declining health. For example, an older adult who sustains a hip fracture may require surgery, prolonged hospitalization, and months of rehabilitation. Even after recovery, many patients never return to their previous level of function. Equally important are the psychological effects. Many individuals develop a persistent fear of falling, which causes them to limit physical activity. Unfortunately, reduced activity leads to a muscle weakness, poorer balance, and greater frailty, factors that further increase the likelihood of future falls. For healthcare professionals, preventing falls is therefore not only about avoiding injuries, it is about preserving independence, maintaining quality of life, and promoting healthy aging. To appreciate why fall prevention has become a global priority, let's examine the magnitude of the problem. Falls are now recognized as a major global public health problem. According to the 2021 Global Burden of Disease Study, approximately 548.8 million people worldwide experience a fall in a single year. These falls resulted in an estimated 215 million fall-related injuries, nearly 43.8 million disability-adjusted life years or DALYs, and approximately 800,000 deaths. One particularly important finding from recent research is that although age-standardized fall rates have gradually declined, the absolute number of falls continue to rise. This apparent contradiction explained why population aging, advances in healthcare, have increased life expectancy, resulting in a larger number of older adults who are at risk of falling. As the world's population continues to age, the burden of falls is expected to increase further. This highlights the urgent need for effective prevention strategies that can be implemented not only in hospitals but also in primary care and community settings. While these statistics describe the global picture, similar concerns are evident in the Philippines. Recent local evidence confirms that falls are also a major health concern among Filipino older adults. A study involving community-dwelling older Filipinos found that 17.7% reported experiencing at least one fall during the previous year. Put simply, nearly one in every six older adults had fallen. Researchers also identified several factors associated with an increased likelihood of falls. This included living in an urban area, experiencing chronic pain, having reduced grip strength, and impaired physical function. These findings reinforce the importance of assessing both medical and functional status when evaluating older adults. More importantly, they remind us that fall prevention should not be confined to hospitals. Screening should begin in primary care clinics, community health centers, and even during routine consultations, allowing healthcare professionals to identify individuals at risk before a serious injury occurs. Understanding how often falls occur is only part of the story. We must also appreciate the profound consequences that a single fall can have on an older person's life. The impact of falls extend far beyond physical injury. Physically, falls may result in fractures, traumatic brain injuries, spinal injuries, and chronic pain. Hip fractures are particularly devastating because they are associated with prolonged disability, loss of mobility, and increased mortality during the first year following injury. Psychologically, many older adults develop a fear of falling again. This fear often leads to anxiety, reduced confidence, and avoidance of physical activity. As activity level declines, muscle strength, balance, and overall physical function also deteriorates, creating a vicious cycle that further increases fall risk. Falls also affect independence. Many older adults become unable to perform activities of daily living without assistance, while others require long-term institutional care. Emerging evidence further suggests that recurrent falls are associated with accelerated cognitive decline and poorer long-term survival. Taken together, these physical, psychological, functional, and cognitive consequences demonstrate why preventing the first fall is far better than managing its complications. So, if falls are preventable, the next logical question is, why do older adults fall in the first place? One of the biggest misconceptions about falls is that they are simply the result of aging. In reality, aging itself does not cause falls. Rather, falls occur because multiple risk factors interact with one another. As people age, normal physiological changes reduce muscle mass, muscle strength, reaction time, balance, vision, and hearing. These changes may seem minor individually, but together, they significantly reduce an older person's ability to recover from loss of balance. Medical conditions such as arthritis, stroke, Parkinson's disease, diabetes, cognitive impairment, and cardiovascular disorders further increase this vulnerability. At the same time, medications may cause dizziness, orthostatic hypotension, or sedation, while environmental hazards such as poor lighting, slippery floors, loose rugs, or uneven walkways can trigger a fall. Most importantly, falls rarely have a single cause. They usually result from the interaction between an individual's intrinsic characteristics, medical conditions, medications, behaviors, and the environment. This is why modern fall prevention focuses on identifying multiple contributing factors rather than searching for one isolated cause. Because falls are multifactorial, healthcare professionals must recognize the different categories of risk factors. Intrinsic factors originate within the individual. This includes advanced age, female sex, muscle weakness, impaired balance, gait abnormalities, visual impairment, cognitive decline, frailty, and chronic diseases. These factors reduce an individual's ability to maintain stability during daily activities. Medication-related factors also play a significant role. Polypharmacy, particularly the use of sedatives, hypnotics, antidepressants, antipsychotics, and some antihypertensive medications, has consistently been associated with an increased risk of fall. Regular medication review is therefore an essential component of fall prevention. Extrinsic factors are hazards in the surrounding environments. Common examples include inadequate lighting, slippery surfaces, loose electrical cords, uneven flooring, poor footwear, and absence of handrails. Finally, behavioral factors such as physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and unsafe mobility practices can further increase fall risk. Understanding these risk factors allows us to identify which factors are modifiable and therefore amenable for intervention. Among the recognized risk factors, one stands out above the rest, which is a previous fall. Numerous studies consistently demonstrate that an older adult who has fallen once is significantly more likely to experience another fall in the future. A previous fall often indicates that one or more underlying factors have already reached a clinically significant level. For this reason, one of the simplest yet most important questions during any consultation with an older adult is, have you fallen during the past year? A positive answer should never be dismissed as a normal consequences of aging. Instead, it should immediately prompt a more comprehensive fall risk assessment to identify modifiable causes and implement preventive interventions. Several validated tools are available to help clinicians assess fall risk, and each has been developed for a particular clinical setting. The Morse fall scale is one of the most widely used screening tools for hospitalized patients. It evaluates factors such as previous falls, secondary diagnosis, ambulatory aids, intravenous therapy, gait, and mental status. The Berg Balance Scale focuses on functional balance through a series of performance-based tasks and is commonly used in rehabilitation and community settings. The Time Up and Go test or TUG measures functional mobility by timing how long it takes an individual to stand from a chair, walk 3 meters, turn, return, and sit down again. It is quick, practical, and frequently used in outpatient clinics and community screening. Other validated instruments include the Stratify tool, which was designed for hospitalized older adults, the Henrich 2 Fall Risk Model, and the Bartel Index, which assesses functional independence and activities of daily living. Recent evidence suggests that no single assessment tool is universally superior. Instead, clinicians should select the most appropriate instrument for their practice setting and combine it with sound clinical judgment. Notably, a 2025 prospective study demonstrated that combining the Moore-Fall scale with the Bartle Index produced better predictive accuracy than either tool alone, highlighting the value of combining functional assessment with standardized screening. Although standardized tools are valuable, they should never replace a comprehensive clinical assessment. A multifactorial assessment examines the older adult as a whole. In addition to screening scores, clinicians evaluate medical history, previous falls, medications, gait, balance, muscle strength, vision, cognition, functional status, continence, nutritional status, and environmental hazards. This holistic approach recognizes that falls usually result from several interacting problems rather than a single abnormality. Current systematic reviews recommend combining standardized assessment tools with individualized clinical evaluation because this approach provides a more accurate estimation of fall risk and support in the development of personalized interventions. In other words, the goal is not simply to identify patients who may fall, but to understand why they are at risk so that these factors can be corrected. Once these risk factors have been identified, the next step is determining which interventions are supported by the strongest scientific evidence. Over the past decade, several international organizations have published evidence-based guidelines for fall prevention, including the World Falls Guidelines, the American Geriatric Society, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence or NICE, and Australian expert groups. Although these guidelines differ in some recommendations, they agree on several key principles. First, older adults should be routinely screened for fall risk, particularly those with a previous history of falls or gait and balance problems. Second, high-risk individuals should undergo a comprehensive multifactorial assessment to identify modifiable risk factors. Finally, intervention should be individualized rather than applying the same strategy to every patient. Effective management often requires collaboration among physicians, nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists, pharmacists, patients, and caregivers. This multidisciplinary, person-centered approach has become the cornerstone of modern fall prevention. The obvious question now is what intervention actually works. So let's examine the evidence. Now that we have identified who is at risk, the next question is how falls can be prevented. One of the most important messages from current research is that there is no single intervention that prevents all falls. Instead, the greatest benefit comes from a multifactorial approach where interventions are tailored to each individual risk profile. For example, a patient with poor balance may benefit most from exercise and physical therapy, whereas someone experiencing dizziness due to multiple medications may require medication review and deprescribing. Likewise, patients living in a safe home environment may need environmental modifications before discharge. Successful fall prevention therefore begins by identifying modifiable risk factors and then implementing targeted interventions. This individualized approach has consistently been shown to reduce both fall rates and fall-related injuries among older adults. As healthcare professionals, our goal is not only to treat injuries after a fall, but to prevent the first or the next fall from occurring. Among all avoidable interventions, exercise is the strongest evidence for preventing falls. Large systematic reviews and clinical guidelines consistently recommend structured exercise programs that emphasize balance training, lower extremity strengthening, functional mobility, and gait training. These programs improve postural stability, increase muscle strength, and enhance confidence during daily activities. One commonly recommended activity is Tai Chi, which combines slow controlled movements with balance and weight shifting. Tai Chi has repeatedly been shown to improve postural control and reduce fall risk in community dwelling older adults. That is the reason why you would see a lot of older adults in the parks doing Tai Chi. Overall, exercise programs reduce falls by approximately 23%, making them one of the most effective and cost-efficient interventions currently available. It is important to remember, however, that exercise should be individualized. The type, intensity, and frequency of activity should match the older adult's functional capacity, comorbidities, and personal goals to maximize both safety and adherence. Medications are among the most common modifiable risk factors for falls. Many older adults take multiple medication, a situation known as polypharmacy. While these medications may be clinically appropriate, some can increase fall risk by causing dizziness, sedation, impaired balance, or orthostatic hypotension. Particular attention should be given to sedative hypnotics, benzodiazepines, antidepressants, antipsychotics, opioids, and certain antihypertensive medication. A comprehensive medication review should therefore be part of every fall assessment. When appropriate, clinicians should consider the prescribing, dose reduction, or safer alternatives while balancing the benefits and risks of each medication. Medication review is a simple intervention that can substantially reduce fall risk without requiring expensive equipment or specialized facilities. Not all fall risk factors originate from the patient. Many are found in the environment. Simple home modifications can dramatically reduce the likelihood of fall. Examples include improving lighting, removing loose rugs and electrical cords, installing grab bars in the bathrooms, using non-slip mats, ensuring sturdy handrails on stairways, and encouraging the use of well-fitting non-slip footwear. For hospitalized patients, environmental safety can also include keeping frequently used items within reach, ensuring beds are at appropriate height, maintaining clutter-free sidewalks, and assisting patients during transfers when needed. These relatively inexpensive modifications often produce meaningful improvements in safety, particularly when combined with exercise and medication review. The key principle is straightforward. Create an environment that supports safe mobility rather than one that contributes to falls. Let's conclude with the key messages from this presentation. First, falls are not inevitable consequence of aging. They are common, but they are largely preventable. Second, a previous fall is the strongest predictor of future falls. Simply asking an older adult whether they have fallen during the past year is one of the most valuable screening questions in clinical practice. Third, because falls are multifactorial, assessment must also be multifactorial. No single risk factor assessment tool can fully explain an individual's fall risk. Fourth, among all available interventions, exercise remains the most effective single strategy for reducing falls. However, the greatest benefit comes from combining exercise with medication review, environmental modification, and patient education. Finally, falls prevention is a shared responsibility. Physicians, nurses, rehabilitation professionals, pharmacists, caregivers, and patients all play essential roles in maintaining mobility, preserving independence, and promoting healthy aging. As future healthcare professional, remember that preventing a fall is often far easier and far more meaningful than treating its consequences. Thank you for your attention. And again, may I remind everyone to please click subscribe and click like in our videos. We would also appreciate it if you can provide comments on our videos. So again, thank you very much and a good day to everyone.